Good morning, students. I pray that you are all doing fine today. Welcome to another Social Studies BJC review class with Mrs. Brown Evans. Today we will be talking about the word bearings. Before we proceed with our lesson, I am going to invite you to get some very necessary but basic materials for our class. You're going to need a writing book and a pen. And I also invite you to get a ruler. And quickly get those items and report to your workstation as we prepare for another lesson as we explore social studies skills in preparation for the BJC examination. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to get those materials quickly. While you are getting those materials, I want to say a special hello to all of our BJC students in our junior high schools around the Family Islands. How are you doing? And I cannot forget New Providence. All of our junior high school students in New Providence, we miss you so much, especially the great Essie McPherson Junior High School. If you have your materials, we will begin today's lesson. Our objectives for today include defining the term bearing. We are going to calculate the bearings of a 4-point, 8-point, and 16-point compass. If you remember in our last class, we would have spoken in details about the 4-point compass, which is also known as the cardinal point compass, and those points being north, east, south, and west. We also would have spoken about the 8-point compass, and we would have pointed out our intermediate directions, being northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest. We finally would have spoken in details about how to calculate directions using not only the 4-point compass, the 8-point compass, but also the 16-point compass. And so in today's lesson, we are going to explore bearings or degrees. But before I go any further, let's take a look at our social studies vocabulary words for today. And you know what I'm going to put up? The first word is bearing. The second word is degree. By the time the lesson is over, you are going to have a thorough understanding as to the meaning of bearing as well as degree. Let's continue on in our lesson. The inner circle of a compass is divided into 360-degree divisions of equal size called degrees. If you look at the picture that is projected on the right, you can see an example of a compass, and you can see the markings on this compass. You see 10 degrees, 20 degrees. I'm skipping all the way to 90 degrees. I'm skipping all the way to 180 degrees, 270 degrees. And finally, once you would have made a complete turn, you are now at 360 degrees. The numbering of the degrees starts, as I did just now, at north, so that north is both 0 degrees, and as I indicated earlier, 1 complete turn, and you are back at 360 degrees. So north has 2 bearings, 0 degree and 360 degrees. The bearings is then the angle formed by 2 lines that start from the point the measurement is made. I want to reference the picture at my right once again. So you have two lines. One line is pointing at north, and this line here is pointing at east. So the bearing would be 90 degrees if we are referencing a right angle. Bearings is calculated in a clockwise direction, starting from a reference direction of 0. So my cursor is at 0 right here. So bearings will be calculated moving to my right clockwise, coming right around back to north. And all of this information will become clearer as we do examples of how to calculate bearings. You are now looking at a 4-point compass. And if you remember from our last lesson, another name for the 4-point compass is the cardinal point compass. And we came up with an acronym to help us remember the order of the directions going in a clockwise direction of a 4-point compass. And so we said, never eat soggy waffles. So N in never is for north, E in eat is for east, S in soggy is for south, and W in waffles is for west. Now let's take a look at bearings, because another way of understanding bearings is that bearings are degrees. So the bearing of north is, remember we said it earlier, north starts at 0 and it ends at 360 degrees. So the bearing of north right here, we're starting out, so we're going to begin with 0 degrees. What is the bearing of east? In mathematics, this is called a right angle. What is the degree of a right angle? You are correct if you said 90. So the bearing of east is 90 degrees. Now, if you notice, from north to east is 90 degrees. And so from east to south is also a right angle. So we are now adding by 90. So we're adding 0. So 0 to here is 90 degrees. So 90 degrees plus 90 degrees will give us, let me hear the mathematicians, 180 degrees. So what are we now going to add to 180 degrees to get the bearing of west? We are going to add 90 degrees. Mathematicians, I'm waiting for you to give me the answer. 180 degrees plus 90 degrees is 270 degrees. You are absolutely correct. 270 degrees plus 90 degrees will finally bring us to our 360 degrees. And so I invite you to quickly write this information in your books. Draw a simple cardinal point compass. Label that cardinal point compass north, east, south, west. And then I invite you to quickly write the bearings of each of the direction point that you see indicated by my screen. And so once again, even as you write, I am just repeating this information to give you more time to record that in your books. So 0 degree is at north, 90 degrees bearing is at east, the bearing of south is 180 degrees. The bearing of west is 270 degrees. And the bearing of north is also 360 degrees. Do you need another minute? I am now going to go to our 8-point compass. And just to review, We said in our last class that northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest are intermediate points. And so now let's calculate the degree or the bearing of our intermediate points. If you notice, I have once again filled in the bearings for the cardinal point compass, and I told you last class, when constructing the 8-point compass, begin with your cardinal point compass, label your cardinal point compass, and then turn your cardinal point compass into an 8-point compass. Let's go. Are you ready? So we're going to do a lot of maths in this class. If from north to east is 90 degrees, being a right angle, if we divided that in half, which is northeast, what degree or bearing is at northeast? So once again, let's say that again. If from north to east is 90 degrees, northeast being half of that is now what degree? Come on, mathematicians, I am pulling for you. What is your answer? What is half of 90 degrees? If you said 45 degrees, you are correct. You are on a roll today. So now let's take a look again at the 8-point compass beginning from north. So now we have it. We are adding now by 45 degrees. So north to northeast is 45. So we're going to add 45 to 45 right here, which will now give us 90. So let's go over that again. From north to northeast is 45 degrees. And so for the 8-point compass, we are adding in 45 degrees. 45 degrees plus 45 degrees will give us 90 degrees. 90 degrees plus what? Yes, 45 degrees. 90 degrees plus 45 degrees will now give us 135 degrees. 135 degrees plus 45 degrees will now give us 180 degrees. 180 degrees plus, you know it, 45 degrees will now give us the bearing of southwest, which is 225 degrees. 225 degrees plus 45 degrees will now give you the bearing of west, which is 270 degrees. 270 degrees plus 45 degrees will now give you the bearing of northwest, which is 315 degrees. 315 degrees plus 45 degrees will bring us to 360 degrees. So as you are quickly filling in the bearings for an 8-point compass in your writing box, I want to remind you that for the 8-point compass, you are adding in 45 degrees. Do you need another minute? If you are through drawing and writing in those degree points, we are now going to move to our 16-point compass. So we'll go, our next slide will show you the 16-point compass. So we're still looking at the 8-point compass. So those who needed that extra few seconds, you would have had it. Now the 16-point compass. When we're looking at the 16-point compass, I know sometimes students say that this one is a bit complicated, but no, not really. Let's take a look at how we calculate our bearings for the 16-point compass. Now we said we're starting at 0 degrees, and remember, as we discussed the 8-point compass, we said that the bearing of northeast is 45 degrees. Just like the other compasses that we discussed, 0 to 45, and we have a line that is halfway between that. So halfway between 0 to 45 is what a degree? Half of 45. I'm waiting on my mathematicians to calculate it for me. Half of 45 will give us what? 22.5. And so the bearing of northeast is 22.5 degrees. We're adding now by 22.5 degrees. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's go. So 0 to northeast is 22.5 degrees. 22.5 degrees plus 22.5 degrees give us 45 degrees, which is northeast. What is the direction that we are going to put right here from our last class? You learned it in our last class. We are going to put east, northeast right there. So what is the bearing of east, northeast? 67.5. We're adding, remember, in 22.5. So 67.5 plus 22.5 degrees will give us 90 degrees. The next direction we are going to write right here, the direction is going to be east, southeast. You remember it? East, southeast. So what is the bearing of east, southeast? The bearing is 90 plus 22.5, which is 112.5. 112.5 plus 22.5 will give us 135 degrees, which is the bearing of southeast. What is the direction we're going to put right here where my cursor is? If you said south, southeast, you are absolutely correct. Now, what is the bearing of south, southeast? Remember, what are we adding by 22.5? So 135 degrees plus 22.5 degrees will give us 157.5 degrees. 157.5 degrees plus 22.5 degrees will now give us 180 degrees. What is the direction we are going to put here? Yes, you are correct. South, southwest. So 180 degrees plus 22.5 degrees will give us 202.5 degrees. 202.5 degrees plus, you know it, 22.5 degrees will give us 225 degrees. Now, what is the direction we are going to put here? West, southwest. So 225 degrees plus 22.5 degrees will give us 247.5 degrees. 247.5 degrees plus 22.5 degrees will now give us 270 degrees, which is west. What is the direction we are going to put right here? West, northwest. So west, northwest has a bearing of 292.5 degrees. And you would have added 22.5 degrees. And if you add another 22.5 degrees, it will give you 315 degrees northwest. And finally, the one that we are going to fill out is right here. What is the direction that my cursor is indicating? North, northwest. What is the bearing of north, northwest? It is 315 degrees plus 22.5 degrees, which is 337.5 degrees. 337.5 degrees plus 22.5 degrees now will return us to our north direction and give us 360 degrees. So once again, when you are calculating the bearings of a 16-point compass, you are adding by 22.5 degrees. If you are calculating it, once you remember that, you will be just okay in the examination. So I'm just going to project another completed 16-point compass here, showing all of our bearings. If you are writing, you have just another minute to complete your diagram of the 16-point compass and ensure that you have all of the bearings written in the necessary spots. Do you need another minute? I think I'm going to give you 2 more minutes as a matter of fact, because the 16-point compass has just so many points to record. So I am going to ensure that you have this information for your review. For those of you who may just be joining us, we have been discussing the bearings of a 16-point compass, and students are at this time taking the opportunity to draw the 16-point compass, and they are inserting the degrees that are appropriate to all of the direction points. You have just 1 more minute to complete that. Just to note as you are wrapping up your diagram that questions on bearings are generally speaking found in the multiple choice questions or the multiple choice section of the examination generally. You may be asked a typical question that says, what is the bearing of northeast? Of course, your answer would be 45 degrees. Or what is the bearing of northwest? And your answer would be 337.5 degrees. If you are finished, we will continue with our lesson. It is time to play our social studies Jeopardy as we conclude our lesson on bearings. Are you ready for round 1? All right, let's see who is going to get all of our questions correct. Bearings is calculated in what direction? Is it clockwise or anti-clockwise? If you said clockwise, you heard the applause, you are correct. Number 2, what is the bearing of east? Have you chosen your answers yet? Let me see. 90 degrees is correct. Question number 3. What is the bearing of west? The bearing of west. Have you decided your answers yet? Did you choose 270 degrees? 270 degrees is correct. The bearing of northeast. What is your answer? Is it 22.5 degrees or is it 45 degrees? The bearing of northeast. The answer is 45 degrees. How are you doing so far? Did you get 4 out of 4 so far? We have 2 more to go. Let's see who will get all of our concluding questions correct. What is the bearing of southeast? The bearing of southeast. Is it 90 degrees or is it 135 degrees? What is your answer? 135 degrees is correct. And our final question is, what is the bearing of northwest? The bearing of northwest. Is the answer 270 degrees or is the answer 315 degrees? What is your answer? Are you ready? Drum roll, it is 315 degrees. Did you get 6 out of 6? I was rooting for you. I believe in you. I know that you got 6 out of 6. Do your dance if you did, even if you got 5 out of 6, you can do your dance as well because you have done an awesome job. Now, those persons who might have only gotten 1 right or maybe 2, I always say to you, don't worry about it. Take some time after this lesson to go over the information that we would have presented in class, and I am sure by the time the BJC examination comes around, you too will be getting all correct. My reminders before you go. Don't forget that bearings is the angle formed by 2 lines that start from the point the measurement is made. My final reminder is that a degree is a unit of measurement of angles. And I introduced you to those 2 words earlier on in our social studies vocabulary section at the beginning of the lesson. Bearing and degree. It is always my pleasure to share important information as we prepare for the BJC examination. I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And remember, when you come to our social studies review classes via cable, I always want you to come prepared. Coming prepared means you are going to always bring your book to the class, your book and a pen, an atlas if you have it, and a ruler. Good morning, everyone.